Hey everybody, it's your boy VG Time back again with another deck profile. Sorry it took me a while, just is that I typically like to play my decks for a while before I start doing deck profiles on them, just to make sure that they perform to a decent level so I'm not putting you guys out there playing garbage. So we are on Palpatine Yellow. Palpatine recently got very popular. Palpatine is still like only me and the store owner plays it at our shop, and we get a decent amount of people every week. You see a lot of other leaders. Hell, you even see more Thrawn than you see Palpatine usually because the owner doesn't get to play that much, and I'm usually on Gen Urso. But I did break this out. I did really well with it, so I just sharing it with you guys. So what does Palpatine do for those of y'all who are not aware? Palpatine has the ability to pay one resource, exhaust himself to defeat a friendly unit and deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. This ability is extremely good because it does really well with on defeat triggers. Also, it does really well at pinging off little small things that might seem inconsequential, but you really don't want to leave them on the table. And drawing cards to me is good. There's this weird idea in this game that I keep hearing from people, like drawing cards is bad for some reason. It is not. Drawing cards is great. Having the option as to what you could resource or having the option as to what you could play that turn and to be able to dig for what you want that. Okay, so we're going to start off with the typical Palpatine things because Palpatine doesn't flip until 8, right? So let me go over that real quick. So when you have 8 resources, you get to flip Palpatine. Palpatine is a 4/10, so he is not coming off the table typically when you play him. The other thing is that he's the only leader with a when deployed ability, and his when deployed ability is that you take control of a non-leader damage unit, which is extremely powerful. If your opponent knows what he does, a lot of times they try their best to make sure that they don't have anything damaged out there when he's on the board. Sometimes they even delay playing anything. If they're doing that, cool, don't deploy them then, unless it's going to directly win the game. And if they don't know how to play around them, cool, you're taking whatever their best card is that turn. All right, so typically with Palpatine, because you do have to reach 8 resources, you got to make sure that you could clog up the game. Aggro is a thing. So what you don't want to be doing is taking it lightly and then end up dying. So to that effect, we play 3 copies of Yularen. This helps us to heal. If you have initiative, you want to mulligan for this card super hard, only because you want to have a chance of getting that and combine it with his partner in crime, the Emperor's Royal Guard. So this card right here has always been viewed as being pretty good. Problem is that you need an official on the table. Yularen is an official, so that's good. It's a 3/5 Sentinel because your leader is Palpatine, and that's usually enough to slow down some things. It doesn't like completely grind out, lock down the table like some people might try to make it seem, but what it does do is it makes their turn unoptimal. So I'll give you an example. I was playing against people, and they had to, instead of hit me, like use a Fleet Lieutenant trigger to try to go into this guy and then lose the guy they were attacking with anyway, leaving themselves with 1 dude on the table. I still had a Yularen, and then I followed it up with another one, and you just saw, oh my God, I can't stand this. Or I followed it up with another card that I have in the deck that is really good into aggro. Anyway, continuing on with the typical, we play Super Laser Tech, of course. We're playing Villainy Green, so you want to be able to ramp. You got to get to 8 somehow. This card is extremely good with Palpatine. There's been times where I will play this on 2. My opponent doesn't kill it, so I play another one on 3, and they look at me crazy. Then I sack one with Palpatine, ping the other one with Palpatine, ramp 2. And then at that point, I went from 4 to 6. And then they're like, oh, okay. And it looks like pretty strong. So that's something that you do not in the aggro matchup, but like in the control-ish matchup, where they think they could kind of keep it under check. And you also drew a card at that point, so you're kind of ahead in that aspect as well. So now we get to the main stuff in the deck. We have 3 copies of Patrolling V-Wing. It's a great turn 1 play. You play it out into space, you draw a card. People kind of leave it alone because it's a 1/1. They don't really care about it. And then it comes up later on as far as its value, which is that you're able to sack it off with Palpatine to draw a second card, ping off something else like a wing leader or something like that, just to make sure that you don't have to deal with that later on. You still have to deal with the card that got the experience, but you could deal with that in a different way. Frontline Shuttle. This card right here was suggested to me by the other Palpatine player in the store owner, David. This card right here has proven its complete worth to me. So what it does is, as an action, you're able to defeat this unit, and then you can attack with a unit, even if it's exhausted, but it can't attack bases. So what you want to do is you want to use it on things with overwhelm or with on attack triggers to be able to do what it does, right? And I have been able to close out multiple games using this card because people were not prepared for me with 2 resources, thinking I didn't have anything to do, and then I would run spoiler ATST or Devastator or something into them and kill them. 3 copies of Consortium Star Viper. Kind of, again, goes without saying. This card trades favorably into most heroic space units, so you have to play it. The incidental healing you get off of it is also good. Then we have 3 copies of Escort Skiff. Escort Skiff is a great card against, again, aggro board states. As I mentioned before, you have the Yularen out there. You had a guard. They swung something into the guard, killed up the guard. Cool. They could then play Skiff, trade it into one of their cards, and now they still did not deal a damage to your base. And if they did deal damage, you probably healed it off Yularen, which is the reason why this card is amazing. Also, if you are in a situation where you went Consortium Star Viper and you claimed initiative, you could then play this, clear off their card on the board, swing Star Viper, heal. There's all kinds of ways to just keep yourself alive. That's all you're trying to do. Keep yourself alive until you get to the bombs. Now, if you're playing from a favorable position, let's say the Yularen Emperor's Royal Guard play was enough to slow them down significantly. Like they had no way of pumping and getting through the guard. Then you could go into Strafing Gunship instead on the 4 research turn. What this allows you to do is to pick off their entire board turn after turn while maintaining your guy. There is a great turn 1 play that allows you to play this on 2, which we'll go over in a little bit. And when you do that, it's a wrap, because now everything they play on the ground, like they might hit you for like a clean 5. That's cool. You're killing off. And now they're going to have an issue keeping their board presence on the ground. If they go space, then you have to kind of worry about that. But usually a lot of people aren't doing that much space, at least not as much as you would think. So we ramp in. Of course, we play resupply. We're not going to even, delay that. So you need to have payoff for ramp. So the payoff for ramp that I have is 3 copies of ATST. People sleep on this card, but this card pairs really well with Frontline Shuttle to close out games. It goes really well with Overwhelming Barrage. It's a great card overall. Other payoff is Gladiator Star Destroyer. Just a good card to be able to lock down a zone. Because what happens a lot of times in these kind of decks is that you want to be able to make it so that you get to your breakpoint turns, your energy breakpoint turns. What turn is this that you absolutely need to get to in order for you to be able to be powerful. So you don't want to worry about anything but just shutting down that turn, getting into that power point, and then start doing things. For us, that energy break point is usually 8. Because like every other green deck, we play 3 copies of Reinforcement Walker. Walker is a blowout. A lot of times against aggro, if you come into your Walker turn at like 18 or less health, there's almost no way that they actually kill you from that point. You could play a Walker, heal 3, and now you're down to 15. They deal some damage, but usually, again, you were doing your due diligence. You were clearing their board. We're not worried about bases here. And then from that turn forward, you could either swing into their guys and heal more, or you could swing at their base and start clamping down the amount of turns they have. This clears out most leaders. It's just great card overall. Then the very top of our curve is two copies of Devastator. Devastator is a really, really over the top win more card, but I like it. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't play it every game that I get a chance to. Devastator, if you don't know, on play, deals damage equal to your resources to another unit. It has Sentinel, it's a 10/10, it has Overwhelm, so it deals tons of damage. We're about that here. Other cool thing is that it pairs really well with Frontline Shuttle. So if you already had a shuttle out and people are like sleeping on it, you are able to Frontline Shuttle the Devastator into like maybe their 3-2 or whatever, deal 8, clear them out the game. Similar with Walker, right? So a lot of people see Walker, they don't think that much about it. But you play the Walker, you heal 3. You can then Frontline Shuttle the Walker to heal another 3 as you attack it into a unit they have on board to, again, deal with, mitigate the damage. This card might go up to 3. Like, it is literally insane. So one of the things that came up recently, I kept seeing videos for, is budget alternatives to legendary cards. And one of those cards that they constantly talk about is Darth Vader. Now, personally, just being real with you, if you don't have at least 2 copies of Vader, just don't play the card. And as far as trying to find a budget alternative to him, there really isn't any. Same thing, like there isn't really a budget alternative to Boba Fett the Disintegrator or a lot of these legendaries. There's a reason why they're legendaries, right? But what I will say to you is that you could get 60 or 70% of the value of a card using something else, right? But a lot of the alternatives I heard for Vader was locked into a very linear line of thinking, which is that you're playing Vader in a green deck, so the card has to be green that you're playing, or it has to be villainy that you're playing. And there's validity to that because that's typically the decks that Vader is in, right? But what I more so look at is what does the card Vader do for you? So what it does, and forgive me for this tangent, but what it does is it comes down, it ambushes, so it clears the target out of the way, and it gives you additional value on play by playing another unit, right? And so what you want from a card that is going to fill a similar role is the ability to ambush, take something out, and get you value on play. And this is going to seem like the wildest pick ever, but it has been God tier for me this entire time in this deck. 3 copies of Bounty Hunter Crew. Now, before you turn off the video, hear me out. So, Bounty Hunter Crew, it ambushes, so that's cool. Usually you're just pegging off something small, right? But the ability to get back a key event is really, really powerful. Even if all it does is it clears itself and another card out, like, there's 4 damage left on something. You play Bounty Hunter Crew and they just trade. You're still fine because you got value back from your drop. And each of my events, I have no issue playing multiple times in a game. And you're in the mid-range to control mirror. This card right here is a mirror breaker because now you have more barrages, more, whatever than your opponent does. And now they can't just trade resource for resource with you. So now we're going to get into the events. Make this nice and simple. We play 3 copies of Resupply, as we already talked about, right? Resupply is a great card, ramps, blah, blah, blah. Nothing really to say about that. But this next card is gold. And is the whole reason I built the entire deck, right? And that is because, like I said, I like drawing cards, and I also like searching cards. We play 3 copies of Preparing for Takeoff. This card right here grabs all these vehicles in the deck while looking at the top 8. You just top 8, grab 2. And your opponent knows what they are, and that is also good. Because what it does is it freaks them out. Like, you know how demoralizing I have been to people? Sorry, I'm leaning away from the mic. But you know how demoralizing it was for a lot of my opponents to see me, like, early game, like, go Elarin into this, or go, like, frontline Shadow, not do anything but play this on the second turn, and then, like, grab double escort skiff after they left the patrolling V-Wing, not frontline Shadow, patrolling V-Wing alone. And then not, like, realizing that they're about to just get ambushed twice and not have a board. How many times I play this and grab Walker plus, Devastator and secured my late game. How many times I use this to get a Gladiator Star Destroyer and suddenly bridge a turn. Or, they see me grab Frontline Shuttle and like this right here, not think anything about it, and then the shuttle just sits out there waiting for something to be able to trigger it. It's kind of crazy. And then again, it's never bad. Like, I have played this on turn 1. It's not the most ideal turn 1 play, but I have done it, and it has done really well for me. Being able to just set up the later turns, and then I have always played it late and grabbed everything I needed. Sneak Attack. The other reason to play this color. Sneak Attack is abusive of a card. Like, it's actually a little too good, but particularly in this deck, right? So I heard my opponent go, I heard another player on the table next to me go, oh, I sneak attack into play K2SO. I was like, oh, you thought that was good? I sneak attack into play Reinforcement Walker. I was like, we're not the same, buddy. We're not the same. All the cards you can sneak attack into play to get their abilities right away is kind of crazy. We already talked about Walker. If you sneak attack into play Walker, you healing 6 that turn. That's usually enough to put aggro really, really behind. You don't really have a turn 7 play. So sneak attack Walker is your turn 7 play. Then on turn 8, you Walker. So now you're doing Gucci. If you're not aware what sneak attack does, I get it. You pay 2 to play a unit from your hand in active mode, but it costs 3 less to play. So you still have to pay energy for it. It just costs 3 less energy to do. So usually what it does is it take whatever the card is and it reduces its cost by 1 because you have to pay 2 for the sneak attack, right? So turn 1, you can sneak attack into play Super Laser Technician. Super Laser Technician dies at the end of the turn because that's the other cause of sneak attack, that whatever you play dies at the end of the turn. So you could Super Laser, you could sneak attack Super Laser die, you're at 4, and then you get to do stuff like, you go to 3, then you draw 2, you charge for 4, and then you get to do stuff like Strafing Gunship, and have Gunship out there ready to pick off their board as they keep playing units. They play a unit, kill it. Play a unit, kill it. And now they can't, sorry I was clapping, but you play a unit, you kill it. Play a unit, you kill it. And stuff like that. You could also do this to ramp up 1, turn 2, resupply, Or even then, you could turn to play a second super laser tech, sack it, go up to 5. You could do all kinds of things. And then, of course, if you need to clear out a game, you could sneak attack into play Devastator. I've done that. Sneak attack ATST. I've done that. There's just all kinds of things you could sneak attack into play. There's even like plays I was thinking about, like sneak attacking into play Bounty Hunter Crew to get back to sneak attack if I had nothing better to do that turn, and then swinging the crew into something, clearing it off, and then sacking the crew with a Palpatine and pinging something, off that way. All kinds of things you can do with sneak attack. 2 copies of Barrage. I know a lot of people play it at 3. I just don't think it's a 3 card unless you go to the side. Like on the side, I might run one more copy. I don't remember what's on my side, but I'll show you guys. But Barrage is great. 2 copies of No Good to Me Dead. Another great card. You got those pesky on-swing effects. You just tap it down. They don't get to do it. When I play Bounty Hunter Crew and I'm grabbing back cards like No Good to Me Dead or Overwhelming Barrage, you'll see why it's just as good as Vader in this particular deck. Even when I play it to get back preparing for takeoff, then I take off the same turn and grab 2 busted cards. Still great. And then lastly, we played 2 copies of Waylay. Another great card to get back with Bounty Hunter Crew. If they played out something that caused anything significant, you waylaid it at one point in time, and then you play the crew and you grab back a waylay, they're not going to want to play a big thing again because now they know you have the waylay, and they're just going to be paranoid about playing it. So that is the main deck. Next, we're going to go into the side because it was requested last time, so let's look at that. So here we are with the side. The side to me is broken up into 2 sections. Cards for control, cards for aggro, right? Because the mid-range matchup, the person that could go the biggest and could do it the most efficient is the person that wins, right? So it's not so much an issue of what cards you play, but when you could play them and how big they are and how much value they give you. So Palpatine does that automatically really well. You don't really have to worry about too much the mid-range matchup. So first is the anti-control cards. One card that I almost made it into the main deck, but it's great, is Chimera. So Chimera has a couple of great uses in this deck. Usually you bring this in against blue because your card that you care about is Super Laser Blast or Vanquish. So if you play it out and they throw the Vanquish at it, well, you know they have it, right? If you play it out and they don't have the Vanquish for it, because usually what you could do is you could time this to after they already use removal on something else. You can just play this out and then claim. And then you get to swing with it, name Super Laser Blast, they reveal their hand. If they have it, you get rid of it. Great. And then you also get all the information of what's in their hand. It's shielded, so they can't usually just run at it. And it's also a great sneak attack card. You sneak attack this into play on your 7 resource turn. Swing with it. Again, name Super Laser Blast or whatever card they could have coming up. Because a lot of time the blue decks aren't really rampant like that. They're just, controlling. So you could just name whatever it is that you don't want to see. Vigilance, whatever. And you can get rid of it. Deal 8 to like another unit or their base. And then be solid like that. The next anti-control card is Restock. There's a lot of blue vigilance mill shenanigans going on in my area, so Restock is definitely a thing. This card is also great with Bounty Hunter Crew, so you can Restock, put 4 cards back, play the crew, get back to Restock, do stuff like that. It's kind of greasy. Then the last card for control I play is Relentless. Usually what I do is take out Gladiator, Star Destroyer, bring in Relentless. You play it out there. So let's say you play this, you swing with it, you name Super Laser Blast, it's not there. To guarantee that you don't get wiped because they luck sacked it off the top of their deck, you play this. they have to then play something else before they could play Super Laser Blast, at which point you just swing with this and aim Super Laser Blast again. Stuff like that. Now we also have our anti-aggro cards. Some of these cards, people might wonder why I don't play on main. I wonder that too, but it all depends on what your environment is, right? Like, I don't like to lean too heavily main deck to one type of matchup. So anyway, 2 copies of Cunning. Cunning is a great card. It bridges turns. You play it, you tap down 2, bounce 1. And that's usually good enough for you to get through that turn. And then it comes back to you and you do whatever it is that you do. 2 copies of Traitorous. So if you see that your opponent is disrespectful and they're doing stuff like Green Squadron A wing into Wing Leader into something else, just play this, take that card, and teach them that they shouldn't do stuff like that. And then it goes really well with your leader ability. Like, you could just take their card and then guarantee that they don't disabling Fang Fighter it the following turn. If you're able to claim, you could just sack the card off, probably clear off another card and call it a day. If you ramped and you got to a 6 energy by the time they're doing all that shenanigans, you could Traitorous the card, swing it into something else, and then use this to clear off the Wing Leader. And then lastly, we have the 3rd copy of Barrage. So if we're going against the aggro matchup, we play the 3rd Barrage. And that's basically it. If you have any suggestions, leave it down in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile. And I'll catch you again next time. This is VG Time signing out.